Welcome into Weather Channel Live. It is Thursday, December 5th, and boy, is it cold yet where you are, because it's about to be. It is going to get so cold over the next 24 hours.
If it isn't miserably cold and dry just yet where you are, it probably will be because that cold air is diving southward. Thanks for sticking with us here on Weather Channel Live. Kicking it off here on the Thursday, Chris Bruin, Felicia Combs. You know, we were watching some of that intense snow that we saw across portions of the Northeast yesterday, and some actually got some thunder snow, like here in Pittsburgh.
Does it feel like me, or do we see stuff?
System that we are still being influenced by. Our weather pattern had a big influence from this clipper, whether it's the snow that you're seeing, the wind, or the cold air that's been diving southward. So here's what we're talking about. Into Saturday morning, we have that possibility for bursts of snow and very strong winds. We just talked about that. That is going to create dangerous travel conditions, widespread power outages because these winds could be so strong and gusty, and heavy lake effect snow through the early part of the weekend, maybe 1 or 2 feet in some places. Look at some of these winds that we're seeing right now, 36 miles. So with the dry fall that a lot of us have seen, in fact, many places having their driest fall on record. That's what you see represented by all these brown dots. We will take some of that precipitation. We could make it more widespread for, you know, portions of Texas that really need it, but we'll take whatever we can get. It
wasn't that long ago. We were talking about all the wildfires here in New Jersey. I mean, just a few weeks ago.
And you can see why.
Yeah. Because it was so dry. You know, the summer wasn't that dry, but we had accelerated the drought through the fall. And this was our driest fall on record for places like Newark, New Jersey, Hartford, Connecticut, and Bangor, Maine, as well as Wilmington, Delaware, coming in at #1 driest fall since records have been kept.
I mean, Austin, Las Vegas with a double goose egg there.
0.
No rain at all between September and November, at least measurable. So that is, you know, that's not great. You need at least a little bit of rain. The drought monitor showing where you see the reds here across portions of Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania. That is extreme drought. That is getting up into, you know, the grass is drying out, just dangerous levels.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of lake effect snow, so we'll probably see some improvements here over the next week or 2 weeks. But a lot of that moisture is kind of drying out before it's ever, you know, we've seen a little bit of light flurry activity. That's not really going to help with the drought at all, though.
Right. Now, the snowfall really does help a lot with the drought, because as the snow melts, it's able to kind of slowly sink into the ground if the ground isn't too frozen. Right. But, you know, you can see some of the totals that we've seen. This is just since Thursday. This is mind-blowing to me, Chris. Casterland, New York, they're kind of leading the way with nearly 66 inches of snow. That's so much snow since Thursday.
But look at even Cassadaga, New York. I mean, most of these are well over 4 or 5 feet of snowfall since Thursday. In this area, especially Western New York, where we had a lot of these heavy totals, are expecting another foot, maybe 2 feet between now and Sunday.
And it's not warming up so significantly that we're doing any major melting either. So that's part of the problem. As Chris mentioned, look at the forecast of the snowfall still to come. I mean, the dark purple that you see here, I mean, I know elevation playing a role in that, but it's just a snow-prone place. But this is so early in the season.
I know snowmobilers, this is like snowmobile country here. And they're really enjoying it, because a lot of the economy, especially in the wintertime, relies heavily on that. And what a great start to the winter here for those folks, as well as starting to get some big-time totals there as well outside of Erie, but it's been very impactful with travel as well. I-90, not a spot you want to be driving on today.
Right. If you just want a snowmobile, great. If you actually need to travel, terrible for it.
All right, we're getting word of a tsunami just off the coast of California, and they have issued a tsunami warning. It does include the San Francisco Bay Area and much of Northern California. We'll get the latest update with that coming up next here on Weather Channel Live.
Displace create some wave energy in itself. So again, when we're talking about the timing on this, it is in about, let's see, the peak here in San Francisco Bay, local time there, just after noon. So we've got about 30 minutes, give or take, little less than 30 minutes to be in your safe place. That is the forecast for the peak of the waves. But of course, Chris, this is This is not an exact science. Danger to your life. You are in an evacuation order. You want to take that very seriously. But I'm glad to see that the officials are saying that they are not expecting, a big destructive tsunami. Still expecting some aftershocks because we've had a couple different earthquakes. So we are going to be keeping an eye on this for you. We'll bring you any more updates that we see out of this. For now, though, we want to get back to talking about some of the other influential weather that we're seeing across the country. And
may even get into the upper 60s there in Memphis.
Big change there for places like Memphis. And all of us that have been experiencing those below average temperatures, we're hoping for a big change for the places where we have had the driest fall on record, because we are seeing some portions of the country that the drought is worsening.
Yeah, this is actually some of the driest locations, those dots that you see from the Southwest, parts of Texas, and then mainly into the Northeast and a few in the Great Lakes.
I mean, look at that. Where you're seeing that crowding of all of these dots, that is significant in showing you how dry that region has been or was all fall. And that's why we're seeing the wildfires and the brush fires just get so bad across the Northeast over the last several months.
And even how quickly the drought onset came, because in the summertime, most of New England wasn't in drought at all. It's really from September, October, November. Since Helene came through, we had notable increase in dry weather here through the South. That was the case in Alabama, Tennessee, and also into Florida, although not ranking in the top 5 driest. Wilmington, Delaware, Newark, Hartford, and Bangor, Maine, as well as Austin, Texas, and Las Vegas coming in at number 1.
Las Vegas got no rain at all, no measurable rain. September, October, November, that is very significant. I know we think of Las Vegas as a desert climate, but that was well below average for what you would typically see.
So there's a close-up view of the latest drought monitor, and not a lot of improvements. Obviously, we've been out of drought now in Northeast Ohio. Lake effect snow bands really helping us improve that here, but it seems to dry out by the time it gets to the coast. So we haven't had a lot of moisture. I know we've had some light rain in some of the big cities, but not really enough to cut back. This is improved from where we were early in November, but still could use some of the beneficial rain and snow.
Where you're seeing that red, that extreme drought. You need some more of that. You need a good beneficial rain. You don't need what's left over from where we saw the snow and wrung out all the moisture. So hopefully we can work on that. But where we don't need any more snowfall for at least a little bit, maybe like a 2-week, 3-week break. I mean, look at this. Casterland, New York, you are nearly at 66 inches of snow. This is since Thursday. So this is what, in the past week?
I mean, this is more than most cities in the U.S. see in an entire winter.
Right, exactly. So, and this is well above average for this region. We do think of this as, kind of the snow belt region, but that's a lot of snow very early in the season.
It is, you're kind of using your resources you have early on. Will that be able to hold, especially if this trend continues? Heavy snowfall is still anticipated here into central parts of New York, also across northwest Pennsylvania and those south towns near Buffalo. Buffalo, by the way, picked up over 6 inches overnight last night and this morning.
So much snow. What you'll notice, though, is it's not making it to those drought-stricken areas, so hopefully we can get some rain for them. I mean, it really is. And you might be very happy to hear that there are people working on that if you're flying in any of the wintry conditions like we've been seeing lately.
If you've got a flight into or out of Cleveland, that's going to be a problem spot. It's snowing, visibility is down close to, less than a mile in many cases. It's almost a whiteout here across northern Ohio. Buffalo, at times, you'll be okay, and then some squalls may come through and lower your visibility.
I mean, we've got some really heavy snow right now moving through portions of the interior Northeast. That's not only a problem for flights, but for roadway travel as well. So give yourself some extra time. Seeing some of that I love seeing the lake effect snow bands kind of setting up there. You've got a mix of sun and clouds and snow in Marquette. It's really just reaching all the way down to Detroit.
Yeah, we're seeing some light snow right there. It's crazy because you can be in between and it's sunny and blue sky. And then you'll be in one of these snow squalls and it looks like, the middle of January. They're not causing too many travel delays. We're actually a lot drier today in the Midwest, which is good, but the winds are very problematic there in the Northeast.
Definitely could be a little bit of a bumpy flight around there with the winds as strong as they are. You can see where else we have some snow. Buffalo, Syracuse, that's coming down. And, this is something we're going to be watching for the next day or so with this system. All
right, it's time now for your Geico game day forecast. We're going to take a look at some games. So we've got a big game playing tonight here in Detroit, and this is a dome stadium. We saw the snow showers out there, but it's going to be cold if you're doing any tailgating or spending any time outside of the stadium before before or after the game.
Yeah, that doesn't tell the exact whole story of what it's going to feel like getting in there, because there's going to be a wind chill. It's going to be pretty breezy. So keep that in mind. But just bundle up. I know you guys know how to handle that. The forecast for Sunday across the country, you can see we're going to have rain moving up across the lower Mississippi Valley. So that's something to take into consideration.
Yeah, so Tennessee, that rain gets close, but I think we stay dry as the Titans take on the Jaguars. And by Sunday,
you know what, where we've been seeing some of the heaviest snow, luckily not impacting, that tree lighting, but where you have the wind and the snow all coming, it is certainly causing, some issues. Take a look at some of our wind that we have going on right now. It is gusty out there with this Clipper system. Winds gusting up over 30 miles an hour in places like Buffalo, up over 30 miles an hour in NYC as well. So it is a gusty system that we are dealing with there that just adds insult to injury, right? It's like the wind almost makes everything a little bit worse unless it's a hot day, you know what I mean? And you want a nice little breeze. When you're talking about cold and snow, that wind just is making it feel colder. It's helping to reduce the visibility because it's blowing that snow around. And we have plenty of snow to blow around currently there, coming off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. A bit of lake effect snow moving off through the UP here around Marquette. Grand Rapids, you're kind of in between that lake effect snow that we've got going on, but you can see the banding also coming off with that pattern. So it's just, you could be driving right along. Everything is fine. 2 miles later, you are in an intense snow band, so keep that in mind. Very heavy snow right now in Cleveland. That's stretching out to Pittsburgh. We've been watching this cold air filter in across the region, and that's going to continue as we head into the overnight hours, so it's going to get even colder. Very heavy snow right now just to the east of that I-90 corridor, but a little bit of snow being reported there in Buffalo, so you can kind of see that our system is going to begin winding down, but we're not quite done with this until we get into through Friday, and then very early Saturday we'll finally start to see all of this pulling out. But we do have that wind chill currently that's going to be impacting you. You can kind of see the difference where that bitter cold air has built in already. Places like Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Binghamton, where you're down in the teens, versus say NYC or DC, you guys are going to get even colder. It is going to feel even colder. So do plan for that, plan accordingly, and know that those temperatures will keep falling across this region. This is one of those days where you're actually going to watch your afternoon temperature fall in a lot of these places. The wind and the snow, all of that is impacting us here. Let's take a look at, say, Saratoga Springs, New York, where you can see that flag blowing around. You can just see how windy it is as well, where we've got some topsy-turvy temperatures. So we want to play a little game with you. We want to start out with some guessing questions that you can play along with. Okay, so which city is going to have temperatures in the teens Friday morning? Which one do you think, Chris? Is it going to be Nashville, Tennessee, or Bangor, Maine? Again, in the teens Friday morning.
Well, no brainer, you would think Maine, but
right.
Looking at these colors here, I'm going to go with Tennessee. I have an inside scoop, though.
You do, and you would be right. Nashville is going to be down in the teens, so that's about 20 degrees below average for Music City. Bangor, though, is about 5 degrees above average, so you can see where those temperatures have flip-flopped just a little bit. That's wild,
just showing you the extent how far south that Arctic air is getting.
You certainly wouldn't think that Nashville is going to be colder than Maine.
How about this one? All right, we're going thousands of miles away. What city will have lows in the upper 30s on Friday morning? Is it Juneau, Alaska?
Okay.
Or Atlanta, Georgia? And to add to some perspective, our average low, by the way, in Atlanta should be around 40 degrees.
Okay, so upper 30s. Just because, again, I am guessing how cold it's going to be in Atlanta. We live here, so I do have the inside scoop. I'm going to go with Juneau, but that seems so warm for Juneau.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like that is way warmer than Juneau should be. And you could see it.
41.
41, so even worse than the upper 40s. But I do know that parts of Alaska have been nearing records. So
for warmth.
For warmth,
yeah.
so that doesn't
because
surprise
all that air came down here.
Right,
and
exactly.
it's been warming up there.
Air.
24, by the way, the morning low in Atlanta.
All right. Okay. So here's our next question. Play along with us. What two cities are forecast to have the same high temperature Friday afternoon? So is it going to be Rapid City and Jacksonville, or Denver, Colorado, and Houston? Which two cities have the same forecast for Friday?
It's a little tougher now.
Yeah.
You know, let's see. Maybe Denver and Houston.
Close. They are all very close, but Rapid City and Jacksonville also actually have the forecast of mid-50s for both of those
Can you believe that
cities.
same high in Jacksonville, Florida, as it's going to be in Rapid City, South Dakota? All right, it's time now for your regional forecast, and boy, it's going to get cold, especially if it hasn't already dropped yet.
I was going to say it's already cold for a lot of us, but it's going to get even colder for a lot of us. We've got highs. It's once again, the country is kind of split here with highs above average the farther west you are, but well below average for us in the east.
Oh, yeah, so let's start with the northeast because this is a spot that's still going to be dealing with some snow showers, lake effect snow bands, and some snow squalls impacting Pennsylvania, western New York, Buffalo. We've already seen a half foot of snow already. More to come. Temperatures for almost everybody below freezing tonight.
Yeah, and feeling even colder than that because of those winds cranking. Tomorrow, you'll notice your temperatures really don't warm up a whole lot. It's the 30s for D.C., New York, and Boston. That wind graphic here in Boston, it is going to feel like the 20s at the warmest in Boston all day tomorrow.
So maybe you thought you could head south and escape it. No. Look at Nashville's low tonight, 19 degrees. That's your air temperature. Will be in the mid-20s in Atlanta. The front not quite through Florida yet. So tonight's not the coldest night for northern Florida. That will come tomorrow night.
That's right. The highs, though, in the upper 50s in Jacksonville, 38 in Nashville. Now, we are going to start to see those temperatures on the rebound after tomorrow for places like Nashville. But, I mean, you got to get through Friday morning and the day on Friday first. It is going to be so cold out there.
And the core of the cold is here across the Midwest. Temperatures well below freezing. Many of us down around 10 degrees. And not to forget the wind chills, which will be closer to 0 in many of these spots.
Yeah, for this area, it's becoming dangerous type of cold. You want to make sure you're really bundled up. You don't have any exposed skin when you're heading out Friday morning. And then throughout the day, it's staying really cold here. I mean, below freezing for Chicago and Detroit. Sunny in Cincinnati, but right at freezing.
But one thing you like to see, look, Kansas City, 40s and Des Moines 40s. So we're starting to see that rebound a little bit, especially as we work our way further off towards the west. We'll check out the northern plains, and yeah, it's going to get very cold here again overnight. We got clear skies. The winds aren't nearly as strong as what we've seen. But look at Denver. We're barely at freezing. Above freezing here in Montana. I was seeing photos of Montana, and it actually looks more like fall. We don't even have snow in the valley locations.
Right. Those temperatures have been so above average for especially portions of the western U.S. through some of the plain states as well. I mean, look at this tomorrow. Minneapolis, you're at 29, but 57 in North Platte. Even Bismarck at 36, that is well above average. It's going to feel balmy, especially compared to what they've seen.
To the temperatures we had yesterday when the Arctic air was on the way in. Now, Texas, we got a chilly night. You can see how we've cooled down even into the hill country and across far south Texas. That's where we hold on to a few showers. But otherwise, 20s and 30s here across much of the I-20 corridor, including Dallas. Highs pretty chilly, 40s, low 50s.
Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of rain here where we need it. Some drought help there, and then more rain as we head into the weekend. So I know a lot of people looking for that there across Texas.
Now, if you want the warmth, you head into the southwest. California looking like we'll be in the upper 40s to lower 50s. Phoenix. 55, very pleasant, eating outside. They'll have the heaters going, I'm sure. But overall, not too bad. We've got the inversion layer in Salt Lake City that's notorious for the winter time. So you got to get up in elevation to get out of it. Otherwise, it's going to keep you cloudy and chilly. 44 for you. But Las Vegas and Phoenix, upper 60s. I mean, it's hard to beat that. 79.
79 in Phoenix, maybe even the 75 in LA. I'll take that too over the 30s.
And again, dealing with that fog in the Treasure Valley around Boise. Otherwise, upper 30s here for the I-5 corridor, and still dry, Felicia, for your Friday in the Pacific Northwest. Welcome into Weather Channel Live. Thanks for joining us here on your Thursday, almost to the end of the week, and certainly cold end to the week, even after a brief milder day yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us are going to be waking up to temperatures that are just frigid tomorrow morning. Some of us are already starting to moderate, which is, which is very nice for the Arctic temps that we've seen. Now, some of us have gotten some pretty impressive snow, and not just snow in its normal form, but thunder snow.
Yeah, take a look at this. This was out of Akron, Ohio, earlier this morning, where we were dealing with some significant
of winter there. The windshield wiper is sticking straight up so they don't get frozen to your car. All right, so we are still watching this clipper system. It's going to start to wind down by Saturday morning, but we've got to get through the rest of today, tomorrow, really ushering in some very cold air with it. Burst of really heavy snow with strong winds. That's creating some treacherous travel conditions where we're being impacted by that. We could see some power outages because of the gusty winds, and then also with the lake effect snow. Maybe up to 2 more feet on top of what we've already seen. I mean, in some places, we've seen over 5 feet of snow in a week this early in the season. So it's just been crazy. Winds still cranking here in Detroit, gusting to 25 miles per hour. Boston, your winds are starting to pick up, gusting to 24. That is a cold wind. It's ushering in this extra cold air as well. So not only is the wind gusty and making it feel a little bit colder, but it's bringing with it some really cold air. You can see the wide picture here. We've got quite a bit of lake effect snow happening, some really heavy snow coming off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario right now. Got some snow moving across the UP, 23 and snowy in Marquette. Meantime, Grand Rapids, you've had some snow around you, but you've been pretty quiet. You can see here, though, with those kind of striations of those lake effect snow bands, you could be driving along and it's completely clear, and then all of a sudden you're in some heavy snow. Very heavy snow along the 90 corridor from Cleveland up through Buffalo, Syracuse. You are all dealing with that snowfall right now. Pittsburgh, snow for you as well. And then you'll notice that the temperatures will keep falling across the Northeast as we head through the next several hours. There's just some really heavy snow coming there just to the north of Syracuse. It feels like the teens in Pittsburgh, so make sure you're bundling up as you're heading out. Feels like the teens in Buffalo as well. It is so cold out there, Chris. And those wintry scenes that we've been seeing, it's staying in the forecast for some of those areas. Certainly the possibility for even colder air moving in. That is more than a possibility. That is exactly what's going to happen. I mean, look at your temperatures right now. 20 degrees in Des Moines, 26.
And it kind of blocks the flow of water getting into the drains.
I know one place that we will love to see at least that inch of rain, though, is across the Northeast, where we just are coming off our driest fall on record. Wherever you see these little dots, that is indicative of the driest fall on record, meteorological fall, September through November. And you can see how tightly packed they are here across the Northeast.
Yeah, so it tells you just how widespread the drought was. It wasn't like one city like we had in Texas. It was widespread here in the Northeast. In fact, many spots coming in at #1 for their driest fall on record, and these go from meteorological fall, so from the beginning of September through the end of November. Only 3 inches in Wilmington, Delaware, Newark, New Jersey, 5 inches in Bangor, Maine over that 3-month period, which may sound like a lot in some cases, but we average a lot more than that.
Right. I mean, a place like Vegas, 0 measurable rain. So maybe you got like a sprinkle here or there, but I know Vegas is a desert climate, you think of that, but there are a lot of places across the country that just had such below average rainfall, and it's resulted in drought conditions. I mean, where you're seeing the red here around Boston, here portions of southern New Jersey, that red is extreme drought. The moisture that we've been seeing has just not been making it all the way to the coast.
And it's been relatively light, not enough to really wipe out the drought. And we haven't had any big snowfall at all really back towards the I-95 corridor. We have on the flip side seen a lot more lake effect snow. And I know Michigan's been hit with that, as well as Western New York and northern New England. So we should see improvement here over the next few weeks once that snow kind of melts into the ground.
I mean, if we can get the ground to thaw out and absorb it.
Cold.
It's been so cold. But, when we do finally get that to happen, if we do, there'll be copious amounts of snow melt to work with. We've seen so much snow in the past week.
I mean, if you were to shrink that 65, almost 66 inches of snow in Casterly, New York, I mean, there's a lot of water in there.
Yeah.
If it were all to melt at once, which we don't anticipate, and it's not like we still have almost 5.5 feet of snow still on the ground. It condenses over time and gets really thick and icy even when it gets that cold.
And that's what a lot of us are dealing with. We've got more snow in the forecast. I mean, in some places up over a foot still to go with this system. So we're just adding more on top of 5 feet in some places.
Really cool to see all the behind the scenes stuff that kind of goes on to, it's not just building the plane, make sure it works mechanically, but also preventatively with the weather.
It's good to know, especially with weather like this, that there are people working on that and helping to keep us safe. We've got some really intense lake effect snow bands happening right now. I was just checking because it looks really impressive in Cleveland currently. Current observation down to about 1.5 miles visibility. Feels like 13 degrees with that snow coming down. So not fun in Cleveland at all right now.
And there's big white caps on the lake too, because just how strong those winds are. A little bit more sunshine here back towards the west, but it is cold. We are below freezing everywhere. A few passing snow showers in Detroit. A lot of these, though, they're not really causing a lot of travel impacts, more just minor accumulations.
Some heavy snow there crossing out of the southwestern portions of Lake Michigan. But, I mean, otherwise, you're not seeing those intense snow bands there like we're seeing off of Lake Erie or Lake Ontario right now.
So far, all the big hubs here in the Midwest look to be doing okay. I know de-icing is an issue that's on a delay, but if you got a close layover or something, that can always make it a little nerve-wracking.
A little nerve-wracking. You don't want to waste any time when you have a close layover. Surprised we've got this green bubble at Cleveland, but we do, so we will take that. You can see some heavy snow still continuing to come down near Buffalo, but especially at Syracuse. We've got this really intense snow band, probably just north of Syracuse right now.
Some of that's trying to squeeze all the way down, almost to Albany, not quite. It's amazing to me that we've already seen the sunset in Albany. As far as flight delays go, I know Boston was dealing with an hour-and-a-half delay because of wind. So it's not just the snow, it's the wind, which has still been very problematic here.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing here as we look at the travel bubbles where you're seeing the red and the oranges. Most of these are, if they're weather-related, going to be related to that wind.
Oh, yeah. And some of the big hubs like Dulles, LaGuardia, Newark, and Boston all being impacted by that. Anyway, the temperature warms up a little bit.
Exactly. They kind of get some of that snow cleared off. Thanks for sticking with us here on Weather Channel Live. Chris Bruin, Felicia Combs, we're going to guide you through all the places that we're seeing some weather issues. And I'd say one of the biggest places where we're not seeing much except weather issues is Cleveland right now. There in Cleveland. So it is a mess. If you're, let's see what time is it, 4:30. If you're getting ready to leave work there in Cleveland, I might wait a little bit until maybe some of that visibility improves because the roadways are probably a bit messy at this point right now as well. You can see some of the winds that we've got gusting to 30 miles per hour in Detroit, 26 in Buffalo. Starting to see those winds pick up in places like Boston. Those winds are gusting to 24 miles per hour. It's causing some travel delays there at Boston, Logan. Got very heavy snow. I just showed you what it looks like in Cleveland. You're in that heavy snow band coming off of Lake Erie right now. But we've got this look at this incredibly impressive snow band. It's coming through just about north of Syracuse right now. You have some crazy heavy snow within that. That is stretching, almost to the state line right now with that lake effect snow. And then, of course, you can see the other areas where we're getting some lighter lake effect snow. Marquette, you've got that there in the UP. 24 in Alpena. Cloudy conditions for you. Detroit, you've had some scattering flurries here or there. Those temperatures below freezing. So that could be impacting you. Taking a closer look at that very heavy snowfall band. It is just to the north of Syracuse, so that is good news. It's not in that I-90 corridor, because if this was set up just a little bit right over I-90, man, would we have a problem for travel going on there. This is over 150 miles, so we are almost getting that snow to Albany right now from the very eastern portions of Lake Ontario. Thank you. Our weather producer Heather kind of putting that on for me. So we've got a really intense lake effect snowfall band going on there. We've got some thunder associated with the rain that we're seeing off the Cape. So we've also got wind chills along with this system that's been moving through. It's been ushering in some really, really cold air. And now it feels like 11 degrees in Pittsburgh, feels like 18 in Binghamton, and we'll continue to see these temperatures dropping over the next several hours. It is going to be brutally cold tomorrow morning for a lot of these places, Chris. For a place like, say, Rochester, New York, looking pretty snowy.
Thanks for joining us here on your Thursday. I'm meteorologist Chris Bruno alongside meteorologist Felicia Combs. And you're watching Weather Channel Live. We saw lots of thunder snow over the last 24 hours, Felicia. And that just shows you the intensity of these squalls that have producing a very low visibility and quick burst of heavy snow.
It takes such a dynamic atmosphere to get this. Take a look at this video of this thunder snow. Can we hear?
soon to come after that.
That 67 on Monday looks fantastic
It
compared
does.
to what they're dealing with right now. That rain also looks fantastic compared to some of the drought conditions that we have across the country. For fall, a lot of places, in fact, over 100 places, had their driest meteorological fall on record, which is September through November.
Yeah, Austin kind of standing out. Several cities here over the desert Southwest, especially from Las Vegas into Phoenix. But then look at the Northeast. That's where you see the bulk of those dots. That was our driest fall on record in many of these spots. We're ranking in the top 5 or 10 driest falls since records have been kept.
I mean, I think we could probably remember back to just a couple months ago dealing with the wildfires and brush fires that were so rampant here across the Northeast. And it's because when you have so many places having their driest fall on record, the vegetation is dry. It's just a tinderbox, basically.
Well, it did help, too, that, it's fall, so you're losing all those leaves.
Right.
And you know how easy leaves can burn.
Oh, yeah.
When you start to get some, flames going nearby. So, and then the ash can fly and spark new fires, and so that was a big ordeal. The desert Southwest, known to be dry,
right,
but not getting any precip at all in Las Vegas. Definitely ranking in at first here for our driest fall.
Taking a look at this is the latest drought monitor, and you can see we've got areas of extreme drought here around Boston. As you're looking toward mainly the coastal areas is where we're seeing some of the worst drought conditions here, and that's because we're not seeing that precipitation reach here as much as, say, back across the Great Lakes.
Yeah, we've seen the snow really build up here. And while we've had some rain, most of it's been light. It's not going to end the drought. New Jersey really stands out. Also here into the Delmarva, places like Delaware, coastal Maryland have been well below average when it comes to precipitation.
Well, above average for this small period during the season, the kickoff happening so soon. I mean, since Thursday, so in about a week, we've had nearly 66 inches of snow there in Casterland, New York. I mean, these totals are just mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really significant, and we're getting into more lake effect snow on top of what we've already seen in many of these areas. A lot of this hasn't even melted yet. As that snow melts, it will start to get into the ground, hopefully, and that will help the drought area, especially over northern New England. The ski resorts, I know, are doing really well with snowfall here in the areas that really want the snow. Snowmobile country there in the Tug Hill Plateau and also into northern parts of Pennsylvania, western New York.
Not very fun for travel right now, but, in terms of the rain and the wind and the snow, just have to plan accordingly for it. That's what we're going to be dealing with for the next couple days.
Yeah, we'll watch next week because some of the models are hinting at least maybe a little bit more rain than what we've seen for the I-95 corridor.
We have our own ice tunnel here. It's right here, actually. It feels like an ice tunnel in here. I say that jokingly when some people really are dealing with, basically their own, at least snow wind tunnel currently.
Yeah, it's one thing enough to look at the temperatures that are being observed. It's another thing when we're talking 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. It's been that way all day.
Yeah, I think the wind makes it just exponentially worse because it's like that wind will cut straight through your jacket if you don't have enough layers on. It's wicking away the warmth from your skin, so it's just terrible out there.
And we now that we're past sunset, temperatures are already falling. Even some passing snow showers at times in Marquette down around 21 degrees, 28 in Grand Rapids. Most of the snow has been to your west in that band coming through southwestern parts of Michigan.
That is a heavy snow band, and it's been going for quite some time. Right now, we're not seeing any delays showing up on the board. Really surprised when you have conditions like we've had in Cleveland for hours at this point. I mean, but the bubble is green, and we will take it.
Yeah, and I know de-icing is going on in some of these airports, but that's not really causing many delays. It's just taking a little longer to get off the tarmac in some cases. Now, back across the Northeast, we got some snow showers. Obviously, the snow's been heavy most of the afternoon in Cleveland. Visibility going down. Some of that snow making it all the way down into Pittsburgh and passing snow showers at times here in State College.
Super lucky that this heavy snow band here that is just north of Syracuse is traveling just north of that I-90 corridor. But I would keep a close eye on this because if it drifts south just even a little bit, it is going to be terrible travel conditions there along that I-90 corridor.
Yeah, that's a potent band and a lot of wind associated with it. And all of those delays you see here along I-95, that's all due to wind. It's been brutal.
So the wind is not only impacting us in the form of wind chill, but also impacting flights at places like Boston, Logan, where it has been so gusty for hours.
They are coming in. There's so many variables.
Oh, so many. Winter forecasting, let me just tell you before you yell at any of the forecasters, one of the hardest things to figure out because a change in temperature by a degree can make all
fun though.
It is fun though.
It's fun to forecast.
Thanks for sticking with us here on Weather Channel Live. Fun here. Chris Bruin, Felicia Combs. Not so much fun if you've been trying to travel through Cleveland recently, because look at this shot. It looks heavy snow here. So let's talk about that. We're going to break down this system that's impacting us. First, let's touch on these winds, because they have been making all the difference. I mean, in Boston, we have quite a bit of delays going on there at Boston Logan because of those winds, gusting to 29 in Buffalo, 18 for your gusts in Pittsburgh, which is making it feel even colder. And then you can see we've got quite a bit of lake effect snow action going on. Here's that snow that we were talking about moving through Cleveland. Very heavy snow associated with that there. And then also this impressive lake effect snow band coming off of Lake Ontario, and one coming off the southeastern corner of Lake Michigan as well. That is some really heavy snow just to the south of Grand Rapids. Snow falling in Alpena, temperatures falling as well. It is just going to continue to get colder out there across the Great Lakes region and into the Northeast. Cleveland down through Pittsburgh, you're getting snow currently. Syracuse, you've got that snow, but that really intense snow band, luckily, just north of Syracuse and north of that I-90 corridor, but watch very closely. You can see across the region, lake effect snow machine is continuing to crank, and this is going to stick around, so we could add feet onto the snow that we've already seen there. We're also feeling very, very cold. We've watched as these wind chills have gotten worse. DC actually opening their first warming center of the season, so you can tell those temperatures are falling. It's going to be so cold overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. These are the wind chills, but the actual temperatures themselves are going to be very cold as well. And it's not just across this region. It is cold all the way down into the south. Certainly feeling Christmassy, and like this shot here in Bethlehem.
Now for your regional forecast, and boy, it's going to get cold, especially if it hasn't already dropped yet.
I was going to say it's already cold for a lot of us, but it's going to get even colder for a lot of us. We've got highs. It's once again, the country is kind of split here with highs above average the farther west you are, but well below average for us in the east.
Oh yeah, so let's start with the Northeast, because this is a spot that's still going to be dealing with some snow showers, lake effect snow bands, and some snow squalls impacting Pennsylvania, western New York, Buffalo. We've already seen a half foot of snow already. More to come. Temperatures for almost everybody below freezing tonight.
Yeah, and feeling even colder than that because of those winds cranking. Tomorrow, you'll notice your temperatures really don't warm up a whole lot. It's the 30s for DC, New York, and Boston. That wind graphic here in Boston, it is going to feel like the 20s at the warmest in Boston all day tomorrow.
So maybe you thought you could head south and escape it. No. Look at Nashville's low tonight, 19 degrees. That's your air temperature. Will be in the mid-20s in Atlanta. The front not quite through Florida yet, so tonight's not the coldest night for northern Florida. That will come tomorrow night.
That's right. The highs, though, in the upper 50s in Jacksonville, 38 in Nashville. Now, we are going to start to see those temperatures on the rebound after tomorrow for places like Nashville. But, I mean, you got to get through Friday morning and the day on Friday first. It is going to be so cold out there.
And the core of the cold is here across the Midwest. Temperatures well below freezing. Many of us down around 10 degrees. And not to forget the wind chills, which will be closer to zero in many of these spots.
Yeah, for this area, it's becoming dangerous type of cold. You want to make sure you're really bundled up. You don't have any exposed skin when you're heading out Friday morning. And then throughout the day, it's staying really cold here. I mean, below freezing for Chicago and Detroit. Sunny in Cincinnati, but right at freezing.
But one thing you like to see, look, Kansas City, 40s and Des Moines 40s. So we're starting to see that rebound a little bit, especially as we work our way further off towards the west. We'll check out the northern plains, and yeah, it's going to get very cold here again overnight. We got clear skies. The winds aren't nearly as strong as what we've seen. But look at Denver. We're barely at freezing. Above freezing here in Montana. I was seeing photos of Montana, and it actually looks more like fall. We don't even have snow in the valley locations.
Right. Those temperatures have been so above average for especially portions of the western U.S. through some of the plain states as well. I mean, look at this tomorrow. Minneapolis, you're at 29, but 57 in North Platte. Even Bismarck at 36. That is well above average. It's going to feel balmy, especially compared to what they've seen.
To the temperatures we had yesterday when the Arctic air was on the way in. Now, Texas, we got a chilly night. You can see how we've cooled down even into the hill country and across far south Texas. That's where we hold on to a few showers. But otherwise, 20s and 30s here across much of the I-20 corridor, including Dallas. Highs pretty chilly, 40s, low 50s.
Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of rain here where we need it. Some drought help there, and then more rain as we head into the weekend. So I know a lot of people looking for that there across Texas.
Now, if you want the warmth, you head into the southwest. California looking like we'll be in the upper 40s to lower 50s. Phoenix. 55, very pleasant, eating outside. They'll have the heaters going, I'm sure. But overall, not too bad. We've got the inversion layer in Salt Lake City that's notorious for the winter time. So you got to get up in elevation to get out of it. Otherwise, it's going to keep you cloudy and chilly. 44 for you. But Las Vegas and Phoenix, upper 60s. I mean, it's hard to beat that. 79.
79 in Phoenix, maybe even the 75 in LA. I'll take that too over the 30s.
And again, dealing with that fog in the Treasure Valley around Boise. Otherwise, upper 30s here for the I-5 corridor and still dry, Felicia, for your Friday in the Pacific Northwest.